Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world and whenever you are tuning into this video. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And welcome to another edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, a week from today will be our Survivor Series roundtable. It's been almost a year since we've been starting these roundtable events, and it's all going to come full circle. This will be our second Survivor Series roundtable with a bunch of special guests, and I'll have a lot more words to say about just how far we've come with those roundtables and how a lot has happened since that first very roundtable last year. So make sure you guys stay tuned for it. That'll be a week from today when we start recording that show. So make sure you guys stay tuned for it. Again, with a bunch of special guests right here on this platform talking Survivor Series, the match card, everything, the build, you name it, we will talk all about Survivor Series in its totality. So make sure if you guys stay tuned for it and stay notified for when that roundtable drops. So now today, ladies and gentlemen, as of today for this episode, there's a lot to go over. There's a lot of juicy stuff to go over. We're going to talk some AEW, some positives, some negatives after what transpired on Dynamite. And speaking of AEW, we got AEW Full Gear coming up just in a week as well. So I'm sure we're going to be talking about some AEW Full Gear in the near future, as that pay-per-view is just on the cusp of a week from today. So make sure you guys stay tuned for any Full Gear reviews or any topics regarding to Full Gear. So make sure you stay tuned for that. So we're going to talk some AEW and of course SmackDown, which surprisingly, man, took a lot of headlines, especially going up against a big said boxing fight with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. And you knew that that was going to catch a lot of headlines as well as steam and attention. So you wonder how WWE was going to put their best foot forward. Were they going to crawl into a ball, or were they actually going to go all out and try to put on a good, consistent, flowing show? So we're going to talk all about that. And speaking of this boxing fight, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. James, this is a wrestling platform. What are we talking about, box? Well, listen, it'll be short, right? Before you blink, it'll be all over. But I have to mention this about the boxing
fight. That was about as fake as wrestling was anyway, so.
Now, it's funny you mentioned, right? I mean, you're not wrong. That's first and foremost, right? But number one, I mean, listen, the boxing fight was the boxing fight, man. I mean, I can't really rip apart something that I knew going into it wasn't going to really be that entertaining nor really deliver. And that's, again, much love somewhat to Jake Paul as well as Mike Tyson. I mean, at 58
that's
years
no
old.
No love for me, but yeah.
I mean, listen, the dude, he's making his money. He's a businessman at heart. He's an entrepreneur. And, you honestly, don't hate the player, hate the game, I guess, right? So,
that's the part. That's the part for me I do hate is the. Go ahead. I won't even get into it.
No, I mean, it's fair. Like, listen, Jake Paul. Listen, at the end of the day, he'll always be a scumbag. I mean, trust me, and his brother's no far from it as well. But but listen, man. I mean, they went from just content creators from an app called Vine not too long ago, and here they are. They're going mainstream, boxing all of these former, legends, still legends to this day. People like, Anderson Silva and Mike Tyson. You got Logan Paul doing his thing in WWE. So again, regardless of how we personally feel about them, they're making their money and they're doing their thing. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, man, the boxing fight was the boxing fight. I can't really rip apart something that, again, just I knew wasn't going to be that great. And maybe I'm the schmuck that stayed almost past midnight trying to watch the shit. So that's one different thing. Speaking of also this event, the women I thought were tremendous in this fight. There was the co-main event, Serrano and Kate Taylor. Serrano, I thought, got screwed. I mean, just look at her punches landed as well as the amount of punches that were delivered. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I thought she got screwed over. I thought that was honestly the fight of the night. There was another middleweight fight that I thought was really good too. The problem is, Brian, again, is Netflix. And this is why I want to bring this up in the cold open. Netflix, what the fuck are y'all doing, man? I mean, the streaming connection the issues that went on in this program on this event was just atrocious, man. I mean, I can't even watch 5 to 10 seconds of this event without this shit buffering over and over and over again. I mean, if we're getting this when Netflix does business with the NFL's got some Christmas Day games coming up for the holiday season. Of course, you guys know WWE Raw is going to Netflix.
Right.
If this is the shit that we got to fucking deal with, then fucking amen. Netflix, y'all got some work to do, bro. Like, get the kinks out.
To work out there, homie.
I mean, Jesus Christ, was that bad? I mean, listen, there's like connection, like streaming issues and such, and then there was fucking last night. I mean, my God, was that horrible. So Netflix, y'all got to fix that shit. I mean, do what y'all got to do, because if that's what us wrestling fans have to deal with time after time, then fucking A, we're in a world of a long freaking year on Netflix when they do end up starting in January. But my God, man. So I had to kind of mention that. Brian, any thoughts, man, in regards to the boxing fight at all? What are your takes about it?
I mean, I won't get into there's so much I'd have to say, and this isn't the podcast for it, man. But yeah, as far as Netflix, look, I mean, I knew I didn't even attempt to watch it last night, so I'm glad I didn't, because I've heard about it all day. You know, the streaming issues.
Yeah,
I did hear the women. You know, that was like the fight of the night. So kudos to them. But yeah, I didn't even attempt to watch it. But if that's, you know, for big events or whatever, you know, like you said, going forward, I mean, look, even for not necessarily big events, but like, I mean, a Christmas Day, right? If football is going to be played on Christmas Day, millions upon millions of households are going to have that on, you know, just in the background or whatever. And if these kinds of issues are happening, then oh my God, yeah, that's bad. But I didn't see it in real time, and I mean, I don't plan to go back and watch it, so I don't know. Shout out to everybody who suffered through it, but
you had an angel on your shoulder, bro. The fact that you didn't have to witness any of that. You're one of the few that had an angel on your shoulder that didn't have to suffer and stay up past midnight the way I'm sure millions of people freaking did. But
this is what I'll say about it. In all honesty, I'm considering where most real, actual boxers end up. Kudos to Mike Tyson, man. 58 years old, $20 million to go out and do that bullshit.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, the dude couldn't even walk. I mean, the dude was hardly even agile at all after like the first round and could barely freaking move. I mean, after that, like, you knew what it was going to pretty much turn into.
I don't want to take up a whole lot. I got to say this, man. Like,
go ahead.
So, because I feel like there's a generation. I feel like there's 2 generations, right? That say like the Paul brothers, right? You know, you got when they came out, you know, 13-year-old boys, you know, followed them in, because it was, and then now they have that audience, and also maybe a generation behind them now. Like, I don't know if, you know, people under 30 really understand who and what Mike Tyson was. And granted, he's 58 years old. He's not 30-year-old Mike Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a person in this world that can convince me that if Mike Tyson, even at 58, wanted to end that fight at any fucking point, and now granted, as it goes 3 rounds, 5 rounds, he's going to be gassed. If that was a legit thing, Mike Tyson could have ended that in the first fucking round. I don't care what anybody says. Like, no, Jake Paul ain't that dude. He's not. You know, I didn't see it. Maybe he did look horrible, but I don't know, man. I just wonder if, like, because there's the Hangover Mike Tyson, and it's been all funny, but I mean, this dude at 13 years old would beat a grown man's ass in not even it wouldn't even be a thought. I mean, it's just he's a different dude, man.
Right. No, so absolutely.
That's part of why I don't buy any of this. Like, Jake Paul, no, you're not that dude. I'm sorry. Like
I mean, I
everything,
agree with that. Yeah. Yes.
like it's this thing that I feel like, and again, when I talk about this generation thing of like men, right? That like Mike Tyson and boxers of a legit boxer, a legit MMA fighter, they have earned this shit over years and years and years of hard work and dedication. And I'm not saying Jake Paul hasn't done any of that, but the larger part of all this is manufactured. Like he has never fought any boxer who is at the top of their game in their prime or an MMA fighter, and yet we walk around here and pretend like, oh, Jake Paul just beat Mike Tyson in a boxing match. Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man, but it's whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean you're right about all those things. I mean, that's why like every time, whether he's fighting Anderson Silva or fighting Nate Diaz or
Right.
fighting fucking whoever, right? Fighting Ben Askren, who fucking looks like he fights back in the 1900s. Like whatever the case may be, it's
Yeah.
just but
It's
that's
manufactured,
yes,
you
absolutely.
know?
And guess what? People are clamoring for this dude to actually fight a boxer, which he has to a fair degree. But let's be honest. I mean, these dudes are maybe slightly also amateurs with hardly any
Right.
really true pro boxing experience. But for the most part, yeah, like you said, these are guys that are not even really boxers. They're either MMA fighters that are way past their prime, or they're also boxers that are also
Who are
way
way
past their
past their
prime.
prime.
And guess
Yeah.
what, bro? That's what it's going to keep continuing to be.
I
Jake Paul
know.
is going to continue to make his money. He's going to continue to get whatever is going to be the best money grab or the biggest headline that's going to make him, as well as their partnership, whether it's Netflix or whatever, that's going to make them the most money. And that's it, bro. Like I'm like, that's why I'm just like going
No,
into
I
these
hear
things,
you.
man.
Like,
I
and
just don't care anymore to put like,
yeah.
I guess,
It's like
put
I
frustration
get
towards it.
it. Like it's not even so much that like, yeah, I mean Jake Paul, Logan Paul, go get everybody, go get your bag. But it's how you're the reason that you have your bag is because a generation of combat sports, so men
Yeah.
generally, right? Like we've we, we've accepted the fraudulent thing as the real thing and celebrate it as this is something to be
Yeah.
celebrated
Right. Yeah.
rather than the actual boxer, the actual MMA fighter,
No, I completely agree. No,
yeah, it's just
absolutely.
weird.
I can no, dude, you're 100%. Yeah, and that's why like I mean, we've seen this now for so many times with whether again Jake Paul is fighting a Ben Askren or
Yeah,
a Tyron Woodley, right? A frickin' again, Nate Diaz or whoever the hell it is. It's all business, man, at the end of the day. And at this point, I'm just like, you know what? At this point, I'm just like, kudos to them. Because, like you said, like, and also I said it earlier, they're making their money. It's all
yeah.
business. And, and that's what it's going to continue to be. Who knows who else Jake Paul is most likely going to fight again, or who else is he going to fight again? Maybe it's McGregor, maybe it's Canelo. I know he's talked about Canelo. I don't know. So yeah, that's just
Yeah.
my take overall in
Yeah,
regards
I
to
mean
it. So.
that's what it's going to be, and you're right. I mean, but it's yeah, that's why
But yeah,
it's
but no, you're right. It doesn't make it
uh,
like, justifiable. It's just like, I guess for other, I guess, boxing fans that want to, get their money's worth. It's like we pay a certain amount of money per month, to buy this
yeah,
Netflix subscription. And this is the main event. You hype this up, right? You hype it well, you hype it really fucking well. And then the
and
finishing product is just, that's all I can really say about it. But yeah,
yep,
much love to Mike Tyson, man. I mean, if you did watch the fight, which I did, I mean, the dude was gassed by after round
yeah,
one or round two. And then again, Jake Paul, who I will give credit, has his boxing skill since he started this whole journey
yeah, right. I'm
has
not
gotten progressively better.
sure.
But again, when you're fighting a dude that again is 58 years old and that could barely move, and when he was gassed, if you watch the fight, you knew what the result was going to be. Nobody was getting knocked out. It was going to be a split decision. and they were going to drag it out as much as they were going to fucking drag it out. And then that's it, bro. So so for people that are somewhat still like pissed off about it, I'm just like, well, what do you expect?
I'm kind of right. I'm like, what you like? Did you really expect to see a great boxing match? Like that's what you thought was going to happen?
It's like thinking like Goldberg is going to have a 10+ banger matchup. The fuck are we doing? Like it's
5-star match for Goldberg.
Right. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, good Lord, man. Again, more of a discussion for a different day. Enough about boxing. Let's get into some pro wrestling. We're going to start off with some AEW. So this will all be about AEW Dynamite from this past Wednesday. So I'm going to go into some positives, man. Now, there's a mixed bag from this show that I personally kind of took away from it. So I will start off with the positives from this show. The one positive that I did take away from the show was Hurt Syndicate, where Hurt Syndicate ended up taking out Swerve Strickland after a match with Lio Rush. So, of course, Hurt Syndicate showing their dominance, their allegiance, their strength in numbers over, Prince Nana and Swerve Strickland. There was a funny moment where I think they were in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I think Swerve accidentally called the crowd Stanford, Connecticut, and there was a crowd, and the crowd chanted, it's like, this is Bridgeport or something like that. Yeah. So I think, because I'm like, what are they chanting? Like, why are they chanting that? And then I had to go back and watch the segment. I'm like, oh, Swerve botched.
That's always cringeworthy when any like entertainer, because I mean, they're on the road all the fucking time, and okay, they slipped up. And
I still remember when R-Truth accidentally called Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin. That was like years and years ago. But yeah, man, I mean, listen, Hurt Syndicate, I mean, obviously, yes, you got to keep making them look dominant. You got to make them look badass and everything. So the segment, at least post-match with Lio Rush, was simplistic. Now, moving forward, man, you have to start amplifying this group. You have to start changing up the segments, changing up, how you are presenting this group instead of just doing everything in the ring and just doing a beatdown, because that's what you did with Bobby Lashley in his debut, and you kind of did the same thing here. So I'll let it slide for now, but moving forward, man, you got to start amplifying and elevating this faction to a T. They look great, they look the part, the visual's great, but you got to start elevating these segments, whether with Swerve and with Nana. There was a really cool I don't know if it was like some type of like Comic-Con that was in like New York or something like that, but it was on like social media to where Prince Nana was like signing autographs, like in a meet and greet, and approach was all of Hurt Syndicate. And it was like one of these, you ever see one of those teen flick movies to where it's like where like the nerd is like roaming in the halls, and he approaches like the three bullies in the hallway and they stuff them in the lot. That's pretty much what it was. I'm like, kayfabe, bro. Like, there you go. Like, use social media to your advantage. Like, I really like that and appreciate that a lot. From just a little clip like that, which was maybe 90 seconds or so. But hopefully they continue to progress it with Lashley and with Swerve. They still got another week and a half or so we'll see where that goes. Fletcher and Will Ospreay had a good back and forth for the most part. Fletcher continues to talk about not being in Will Ospreay's shadow. I'm not your, I guess, mini me, right? Talking about like, I want to do things on my own. I'm going to show you that I'm better than you'll ever be or whatever. And then a brawl ensued with the Don Callis family. And you also have Will Hobbs. And I'm continuing to forget freaking the other dude's name from Aussie Open, that whole trio or whatever. But anyway, that'll come to me later on. Yeah, my apologies. Exactly. So that whole brawl ensued. So you got Ospreay and you got Kyle Fletcher. Brian, what do you think, man? Real quick. I mean, you'd think Will Ospreay still has to win this matchup, right, for Full Gear? Because, like, you would think, like, give somebody like Kyle Fletcher a W. That could be wonders for Kyle Fletcher. But even a loss to Will Ospreay, I don't think is going to do anything to Kyle Fletcher at all. I mean, what do you think, real quick, Brian, about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, while it would do wonders for Fletcher, maybe, I don't know. I don't think it's going to have to be a much bigger opponent, more of a marquee matchup for Ospreay to take a L to anybody, really. The way he's going, unless it's some, tag interference, but like a clean L in a good match, like, yeah, that's gonna have to be something that's built up and a marquee pay-per-view type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And with Will Ospreay, he's probably going to be like the cash cow at this point when it comes to AEW, like the head face. So and eventually probably going after that world title at some point. So I don't know how smart it would be for him to, and if he's going to lose, it can't be clean. Like it's gotta be some type of effed finish to maybe continue that feud that doesn't do that much harm to Ospreay. Like if he loses straight up clean, I don't know how smart that is, but I thought the back and forth overall was good, was pretty darn solid. Not that I'm captivated by it, but it's at least the back and forth piqued somewhat of my interest, at least for the moment. So good props to both involved in that segment. Julia Hart. Now this is wild. This is completely out of left field here, but Julia Hart had a vignette to where she is slowly starting to make her return. It started off as a backstage interview with Jamie Hayter. She looks like a cosplay of Daphne from Scooby-Doo. I don't know what her fucking attire is. If you guys know, you know. So Jamie Hayter's cutting this promo, and then immediately like the lights go dim or the camera shuts off and it goes into this vignette with Julia Hart. And I got to say, man, and again, if whoever has not checked out this video package, this vignette, you guys need to go back and watch it. I mean, this was very well produced. It was filmed. Whoever did this did a very, very good job. Julia Hart slowly turning back into that House of Black persona. It's like that teasing of the return, like she's making her return into that persona. I just thought it was very, very well done. Just everything. Now, the question,
because I think I did see this part of it. Like, did she start out like as like a cheerleader gimmick, and then
yes, that was on Collision.
Yes,
that was very good. Yeah, and then kind of something similar with Dynamite. This again was only like maybe 90 seconds or so. But she's waking up in the bed when she did get shot, like in the heart with a bow and arrow when she was on the football field as the cheerleader or whatever. So again,
I thought that was really good.
That was
so
like
I haven't seen the second one then.
Yeah, that was like a kind of like a follow up from like that first vignette or whatever. I thought it was done very, very well. And I guess they're teasing Julia Hart and Jamie Hayter. I mean, you would think, because she interrupted Jamie Hayter's promo segment. I don't know why Julia Hart would go after Jamie Hayter. I guess, I don't know. Who knows if they'll make sense of it. It sounds badass. It could be really good. It's just, I don't know. The question is there really truly a plan here to truly make this attack or this potential feud make sense? All right, now to the negatives. And there's quite a few of them. Let me, since I spoke about Julia Hart, I'm just going to get into this women's division. The booking of this women's division, guys, it sucks. It's fucking, guys, it's horrible. Mariah May, right? She has done nothing to catapult herself, as well as the executive suits and ties to catapult her after that Toni Storm feud. She has done nothing of importance. She's done nothing of intrigue. And again, it's not all of her fault. So that the title itself as well has been completely downgraded. You forget that Mariah May sometimes is even the women's world champion. You've got Chris Statlander, who again, nobody can connect to because she was a heel with Stokely Hathaway, and now she's reemerged into this face for just no fucking reason, going up against Mercedes. And with Mercedes, right, they're now teasing this tension with her and Camille. Camille continues to look like Doink the Clown every single fucking week. Like, she's better off being Doink the Clown than fucking Mercedes' muscle, because that's just what she's been booked
as. She ever really in this, and granted, they're already teasing their tension or whatever, like, how many times has she actually helped Mercedes anyway? In the time that she's supposedly been the muscle.
None. Not that I can remember now. I mean, she's won maybe one or two jobber matches to make her look dominant, right? But other than that, she's more useless than Raquel Rodriguez is with Liv Morgan. It's just to that same degree. It's just, and now, so guys, what? You're splitting them because you think it's not working, because you want to kind of detach Camille now from Mercedes. And now what? So you're going to start a feud with those two in the future? What have you done with Camille that you're going to now build? You haven't built anything for her to become this solo act, and it just doesn't make any sense. She's looked nothing like a joke, and now she's going to go out on her own because you know that everything that you've done with Mercedes. Now listen, with Mercedes, you guys know I'm the biggest Mercedes Moné Sasha Banks fan. I think she's tremendous. She checks off every single box. Her promos, yes, I agree. They're not very good. They're maybe average. She's cut some decent promos at times. I wouldn't say she's a bad promo, but it's definitely not the strength in her game, right? So, but it's great to see her in this limelight with 2 titles and all. The problem is they're not executing her character. They're not executing her strengths, and it's also hurting Camille's stature. Now you're going to split them because you know you effed up, and now when they go their separate ways, it's like, what do we do now? So, yes. And with Chris Statlander, again, much love to her. I don't know, like, what's the connection with her? I thought she was a heel. Now she's a face. Like, how can you connect or get into something when they just constantly flipped characters? And what I mean by characters, they flip to the face or the heel. It just doesn't make sense. And speaking of that, right? So the women's division, that's just a whole clusterfuck, man. It just makes no sense. So speaking of flip-flopping heels and faces, you have Hangman Adam Page, which, again, I don't know what he is. He was pretty much, a face going into Swerve Strickland in the end of that whole feud. And now here he is jumping straight into a heel shtick with Jay White, which, again, has potential. And it had his moments with Christian Cage and with Hook kind of meshed into it. But still, man, like, I don't understand what the constant flip of characters is in this company, right? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't know what Hangman Adam Page is. I don't know, like, how you expect people to care when you're constantly flipping characters. Right. So that's number one. And then, of course, you have MJF and Adam Cole. Guys, so Adam Cole loses to Konosuke Takeshita. So now, because of that, and of course with the help of the diamond, AEW diamond ring that was lented by or from MJF to Konosuke Takeshita, because they're doing business together to try to take out Adam Cole. So because that's Adam Cole lost, it's now going to be Roderick Strong, because there was like a said deal to where whoever wins 3 some odd matches between Roderick Strong and Adam Cole gets to face MJF. And if they both win 3 matches, then it's going to be a triple threat. Well, freaking Adam Cole lost, and now it's going to be Roderick Strong against MJF at Full Gear. Guys, I don't understand. Listen, if this is what you guys want to do, then fine, right? If you want to stretch this out, this whole MJF, Adam Cole, whatever, it's not my company, right? It's just like, we can only say so much, Brian, about how this is just not, the steam between Adam Cole and MJF is just not there anymore. We can say that till we're blue in the face at this point. But the fact that MJF is not there to sell it, right? He's there via satellite doing like pre-tape recordings of like him, like, being satisfied of what he sees, right? Adam Cole losing the matchup. So that's going to prolong to probably World's End or something like that. Guys, if MJF is not there to sell the matchup, then, like, I'm sorry, you got nothing. You're continuing now. Kyle O'Reilly's involved to try to maybe tease a Undisputed Era reunion. I don't know why we keep going back to that whole spiel again when he's already aligned with Undisputed Kingdom. There's so many things, so many meshes of things that's just are very overwhelming, and it's not connecting with a lot of people. So that's just a mess of itself. It's like, well, James, he's doing the movie, he's doing other okay, cool. But if he's not there to sell the matchup, then don't have the matchup. Wait till he comes back somewhat more full time, because if MJF's not there to sell the matchup, then I'm sorry, then you're going to have to rely on all these other pieces to sell it. And it's not going to cut it. And it's just so odd, man. It's so odd. And then Moxley's group. And this will be the final thing that I mention about this. And Brian, I'll get the rest of your thoughts in. So Mox, right, listen, I really want this to work. You guys know that. I really, truly do. So, and it's got the look, it's got the potential in the world. But I also feel like, man, this tandem has also taken several steps back over the last several weeks, to where the spark and the momentum is not the same as it was a couple weeks ago. And this weekend, I'll use it as an example, right? To where we've talked about, Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin and how weird that those guys are like the head honchos to try to take down Moxley's group because they're trying to take over the company, right? So there was an advertisement about Moxley seizing or trying to take over the TBS network, right? They're taking down AEW thing. Guys, all Moxley and this group did was take out JD Drake from backstage, grab a camera guy, and lead them to the ring. And Moxley cut a promo. And then the faces ended up getting involved. Orange Cassidy ended up cutting a promo. The heels were retreating. Darby Allin does a dive bomb off like the staging area, and the brawl was ensued. And then ended up Moxley and his group ended up hightailing it out of the parking lot. And they're also teasing Wheeler Yuta, like, oh, it's like they don't really have Wheeler Yuta's back. He's just a pawn in the game or whatever. So yeah, man, it just doesn't feel that when you talk about taking over the company, right? This is from what Moxley first said. It's like, this is not your company anymore. We're taking over, right? We don't like what AEW is right now. And it just feels like that nothing is evolving. It just feels like there's not truly a takeover of the company, if that truly makes sense, to where, oh, you grab a camera guy and you take out a said talent backstage. Okay, you could have had fucking anybody do that shit. Like, I don't know, man. And false advertising, I guess. I don't know, man. It's just very weird how this, again, they're not, I'm not going to go far and say like they're dead and like they're not going to get better. No, like there's still a spark there, but it's got to start like now. Like you got to start elevating this before it's too late. So like if you're going to do like an invasion, like AEW invasion type of story, like make it feel that way, right? Maybe Tony Khan gets involved. If you want Tony Khan to be a part of AEW television, then fucking do it. That makes it feel more authentic, right? Maybe they take over like production, the way like DX would take over the production truck in WWE in Stamford, Connecticut. Do some shit like that to where like they're truly like taking over the company, like everything is being like transformed or something. They're not taking over anything right now. At least right now they're not. So the presentation's great. The potential is through the roof, but the execution over the last several weeks, Brian, it's just not been it. And a lot of fans I know feel the same exact way. Not saying it can't be resolved, not saying it can't, but it has to start now. Like you have to amplify this starting next week, or it's going to be too late because that spark might slowly fade away, and who knows. But Brian, what are your thoughts about that, man? At least what I was able to gather here. What are your thoughts about everything from AEW?
Let me start with Mercedes, man. Like, I mean, James, you and I, like, I mean, back when, of course, it was rumored she was coming back, where she was going to go, whatever. Like,
yeah,
this is what both of us talked about, man. Like,
right, I know.
It's look, I hope she, whatever it makes her the most happy in her personal life.
I'm sure.
Because it doesn't have to be the money or the stardom or the best booking or the best match. If she's content where she's at, then that's really all that matters.
Yeah.
But there's no question that like she could be in WWE right now without any belts and having just be more relevant overall, having better matches, just her character, her stardom, all of that stuff, even without the titles over in WWE, with the talent and the matches they could have over there. In that aspect, yeah, I think she'd be better off with WWE. I think she's kind of right now. I don't want to say wasted because I don't know what she wants in her personal life, right? This is just assuming that, you want the title, the main event spot, the blah, 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 all those things. That, man, I just don't think she's going to, again, it's hard to even say we've seen the best of her, but maybe we have, man. Because, I mean, like, I just don't really see AEW overall, man, and I guess that, while we're talking about all of this, man, and it's what we've always said before, like there's so much talent there, but the problem always has been the booking, the lack of booking, the lack of the inconsistency of stories, the nonsensical things they throw in, and they're still doing it.
Right. Yeah.
So, and you talk about, Mox and that whole, I mean, on its face, I love that group, all of them together.
Yeah.
But I can't help but think, man, like all they're doing right now is a piss poor job of the NWO. And while you might not have like the comedic aspects that a Kevin Nash or Scott Hall might have brought to it, and it's a little more serious,
Right.
that's the only difference. I mean, it's I don't know, man. I don't know where any of that stuff goes. I mean, there's potential all over the place. MJF. Let me talk about this. MJF. So the best thing I've seen from MJF in a while, if I'm being honest, is the clip I saw you post where he's at the meet and greet, and is in character and throws the WWE belt,
Yes, man. Suck
Think
my
about this
dick,
with
yeah.
Oh yeah, that too, right?
Oh, that
Exactly.
was fantastic. Yeah, but continue.
Absolutely. But even think about MJF here, other than when he turned face and had the face run with Cole. From the beginning, from back when he started, and he's still doing it now. What's his shtick? What's the go-to that they keep going to? He's just paying some crony off to do his work. You got to win 3 matches to do this. He's going to get this guy to pay, they're doing the same thing. And man, MJF is better than that. It is. They're like, there's no question at this point. Like, I mean, there's talent there, so much talent. Like, it is the booking,
Seriously. Yeah.
it is the writers, it is the production crew. That is the main fucking the direction of of AEW, of storylines. Like, that's the issue of it.
Yeah.
So man, I don't know how they correct that, other than like, how, again, yes, it's his money and he doesn't have to listen to anybody, but that's the fucking problem, dude. Like, you're the problem. And if you're running creative, and you've been running creative, and this is still where you're at after 5 years, you're the problem. Like, I don't. Yeah.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, and again, they now have this deal now with Max, and they're going to go to also a streaming service to where TBS, TNT, all these shows will be on this streaming service going into 2025. So I don't know if it's just the fact that Tony Khan and other executives, to where they also just somewhat also feel content. It's just like, they're making their money one way or the other. It's not like so many people like, oh, they're going to go out of business, guys. No, they're not. No, they're not, dude. They have this deal.
No.
They have this deal with Max, right? They have, all of this other partnerships going on. Like, they're not going anywhere.
And the Khans are billionaires too.
And the Khans, right. Exactly right. Like, nobody's going anywhere here. But the fact that it's just nothing. And again, it's not even before this Max deal. Like, there's been a whole lot of stories and character development and production, everything, like you mentioned. It's just like, it's almost like to the degree where it's like piss poor, like really piss poor. It's just, and it's nothing is executing and nothing is truly landing, right? There's a lot of good matches, right? Tony Khan has a library of all of his great fucking matches over the last 5 years. But what he lacks is moments, like moments in a storyline, and you've rarely have gotten those moments. You've gotten it with Swerve and Hangman Adam Page with the house being burnt down, right? You've had moments maybe with people like Christian Cage. You had a moment with Kenny Omega when he got taken out by the Bucks. I thought that was a really cool way to end the show. There's been few moments, but there hasn't been enough moments to intrigue and to get your fans to say, I have to
Yeah.
watch next week. I have to see this and I have to see this. That's the problem, right? And the fact that, again, you continue to multiply shows, you add in Rampage.
Right.
Go check out the ratings. I have it right here. And get back to me how well Rampage is fucking doing. You decided to add a third show in Collision. Do I really need to talk about the ratings and the viewership for that? So where nobody's watching this shit. So when you tune in to Wednesday night's Dynamite show, their flagship show, and they come across people to where, oh, if you didn't watch Collision, then you're screwed. You don't know what's going on. You got to go back and watch Collision. Well, then that's the problem. Like, why would you try to multiply shows when you haven't even mastered Dynamite yet? Yeah. Right? Like you continue to lose viewership in that show. So you think it's a good idea to where, okay, now we're ready for Collision and now we're ready for Rampage. Now we're ready to add multiple shows when you still haven't mastered fucking Dynamite yet in the last 5 years. It just, it doesn't make sense. Not even like even SmackDown. Again, I've mentioned this many times. It took SmackDown years before it became a thing in 1999 when Monday Night Raw started. What year did Monday Night Raw started? Well, it was in 1993, I believe.
93 or 94, somewhere in there. Yeah.
I think it was 1993. Yeah. And then it took another 6 years before SmackDown became a thing, bro. It's just like they had a functional, proper build to everything, right? It's like you build Monday Night Raw, you built that, right? And now 5 or 6, 7 years later, now you build SmackDown, and now SmackDown's become this glorified brand, as you know, somewhat inconsistent the shows are now, but still, when it started, right, it was badass. It was, the timing of it was right. But with Tony Khan, and you're trying to do so many things at once, which is adding all of these shows. And now, guess what? You're paying the price for it. And he's got Ring of
Honor, too.
And he's got Ring of Honor, right? And it's just, there's so much going on. Like, and
honestly,
this is,
I think.
Can I mention Ring of Honor real quick, right? And I want to go back to the women's division, right? You have somebody like Chris Statlander, who, again, much love to her, but you have to turn her to what, because you don't have another face for Mercedes Moné to go up against for this TBS championship. By the way, where's Tiana Purrazzo? Where's Athena? Right? Oh, that's right. They're all on ROH doing what? What are they fucking doing that's that important in ROH that they could be doing and being a huge mega asset to AEW Dynamite? Where the fuck are they, bro? Yeah. And they're on ROH doing, again, God knows what. Again, much love to them. I mean, I can go on for hours talking about Ember Moon, Athena, and how freaking good she is. And again, Deonna Purrazzo, she was a big signee. You got to forget. Oh, that's right. Deonna Purrazzo's on this fucking roster. She's in ROH or doing whatever the fuck she's doing. She's on Rampage. She's on Collision. And she was this big signee a couple months ago, and now she's an afterthought. Right? Why not? It just doesn't make sense how you're not building anybody.
The best thing for them to do, seriously, and I mean, I think like some of this stuff is like, it should be common sense, especially from supposed great businessmen. Like, you're exactly right, man. They put too many shows out way too fast.
Seriously,
at this point. And like you said, you got Ring of Honor. Like, I don't think you could or can or should get Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor has an established legacy, a great legacy. So you keep Ring of Honor for sure.
Sure, absolutely.
You keep Dynamite. You got to get rid of Collision and rid of Rampage. And you got to cut the roster down and focus on Ring of Honor and Dynamite. And for the next 5 years. And establish those shows with consistent characters, consistent wrestlers, to where you don't have 200 wrestlers on your roster, so maybe we see said wrestler once every 6 weeks.
Right.
It doesn't fucking work, man.
Right.
So I just think they gotta cut that roster, cut the shows, and master the original shit to begin with.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, Brian, and how can I forget this, right? This is what ended the show. You had House of Black take on FTR. Now, I believe this was an opportunity to go after Private Party and their tag team championships. Now, House of Black win the matchup. They defeat FTR. And Brian, I want you to take a good guess what House of Black and FTR did after this matchup. Take a wild guess, Brian. What do you think?
It's Ring of Honor shake hands, bro.
You're exactly right, bro. They shake fucking hands.
I mean, like, I get it.
What?
You're right, but I mean, it's FTR. It's freaking. I mean,
what are we doing with House of? What are we doing with House of Black?
And even FTR, God.
I don't understand. And like, guys, like, oh, but they're turning on face, James. This is the beginning of a face turn, guys. What the fuck is a face turn going to do for House of Black? What is it going to do? Is it going to help their booking? Is it going to make their booking that much better? What is it fucking doing? Right. And if you're going to do that, you don't do it by completely just going beyond the norm of what their characters are supposed to be. They're House of Black. They're mysterious. They're smoke and mirrors. What the fuck are they doing? Constantly shaking fucking people's hands, bro. It started with Buddy Matthews and Adam Cole. Adam Cole and then Malachi Black last week. And now here it's Malachi Black and Brody King. And this is to end the show, Brian. To end the show with just a respective competitive matchup to go after a set of tag titles. That's the story, right? That's your main focal point. That's what it is. Man. And you go off the air. I don't know what else to say. Listen, Full Gear is what, in a week and a half? I couldn't be less tuned out or more tuned out of this fucking pay-per-view going. Seriously, there's really nothing outside of maybe. Go ahead, Brian.
The only thing I'm really interested in really is Hurt Syndicate and Swerve, and only because I feel like you're getting to the point now. Like Swerve's going to lose this match, I feel, but then something's got to happen. Like Swerve has got to get a backup of some sort. You know, somebody helping him out, and who that's going to be is going to be interesting, and then where they go from there. But so that's what's got my interest.
You know who it's going to be, bro? You know who's going to help out who's going to help out Swerve Strickland? It's going to be.
Are you going to say Hangman?
It's going to be Hangman.
Oh man!
My God. Can you imagine? Why not? Why not?
Because they went through hell together, so only they know.
Bro, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like you burned my house down just a few months ago, 2-3 months ago. But yeah, I'll team with you to take out Hurt Syndicate. Again, we're joshing and joking. I don't think that's actually going to happen, but why? Who knows? I mean, it's AEW, it's pro wrestling today, right? Why not? You know, that's just nothing makes sense anymore. So why not just fucking do it? Oh my God. So I had to mention that. It was funny. So yeah, man, like, guys, enough with the fucking shaking hands, bro. Like, what are we doing, bro? Do it if the story calls for it. Do it if the character calls for it. Enough of this fucking mutual respect bullshit, because guys, pro wrestling is not going to survive if we keep doing this with characters like House of Black, if we keep doing it with characters like a Brock Lesnar with Cody Rhodes in WWE, and many other scenarios that I can go over with you. It's not going to survive, dude. We got to stop.
Like, I think we are all well aware, especially in 24, that yes, you know, at least most of you guys and gals back there, yes, you all respect each other, love each other, get along.
For sure.
You got your food. So yeah,
right.
We get it.
Seriously, like save that like off of like social media and just like in a private setting or whatever. Like, just enough, man. Like you said, Brian, like, we know that you're doing that. We know that, but we need to also suspend the disbelief that you guys can't stand one another, that you are this character, that you portray as such. That's why I loved Brian, and I spoke about it on the Facebook page, MJF and him going to these meet and greets. And like, you're not just getting the guy behind the character who's going to put smiles on people's faces, right? And handshake people. No, you're going to get MJF, who's going to tell you to off. That's exactly what you're gonna get, right? And that's just, it's that type of, you know, it's that type of effort from people like MJF to where you respect so much, because it's going the extra mile to make the character connect with other people because his job, guys, is for you not to like him. That is his job. His job is not for him to just completely pull back the curtain and put a smile on your face. No, he's going to tell you to fuck off, right? He's going to freaking drop your title belts. He's going to freaking give you the middle finger, and he's going to freaking, somewhat enjoy it. I mean, I don't know. In his character, he doesn't even want to be there at all, which is funny also to a degree. But that's his shtick, man. He's doing his job. That is his job. And there needs to be more people like that in this industry, like MJF. There needs to be more people to protect their character, to protect their reputation, because if not, pro wrestling, guys, is dead. It's done. I don't know how many more times I can say it. It's done. So you know what? Salute to MJF, because and it's crazy, right? Like MJF is part of a storyline right now. It's bad enough to where you have MJF a part of a main storyline, and I couldn't give a shit, dude. That's how bad this shit is right now.
Yeah.
It's yeah, man. Again, I could go on for hours, but I want to get to SmackDown here. So we'll talk about Full Gear in the next week or two. We'll definitely, I'm sure, do maybe a recap, a review show. So stay tuned for it as the weeks go on. But let's get into SmackDown, because there is lots of juicy stuff to go over. As like I mentioned, they went head to head with this big boxing fight last night. So the question is, did they roll up into a ball, or did they actually put their best foot forward? That's the question. So let's start off with the very first segment of the show. You have Cody Rhodes. Whoa! Comes out to the ring. He wants Kevin Owens, right? He wants Kevin Owens. He's like, get your ass out here, right? He's serious. And Nick Aldis comes out. Doesn't get Kevin Owens, but he gets Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis ends up coming out. And then Nick Aldis says, like, listen, Kevin Owens is not here. He won't be here until this whole issue gets resolved, right? After what happens, with Randy Orton, right, with the ban maneuver, right? There's a reason why it's banned, so this won't be, Kevin Owens won't be back onto the show unless this issue gets resolved internally. And I believe Kevin Owens was invited by Nick Aldis next week. So you will see Kevin Owens on the show next week, per of Nick Aldis's request. So we'll talk about that later on. But like Cody Rhodes, it's like, listen, dude, like, just let me handle this, right? Like, you're giving Kevin Owens what he wants. Like, this is what he wants, right? Just let me resolve this. Let me handle this, right? Because the last thing you would want me to do is like go out and freaking, search for Kevin Owens and beat him up on his front lawn. Like, I'm the champion. I want to be represented as a honorable champion that everybody looks up to, right? With the 5-piece suit. I really don't want to have to do this. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, right? So a good back and forth. And again, man, listen, I'm just so glad that Cody Rhodes didn't come out and say, what do you want to talk about, right? Like that whole spiel. I'm like, thank God he didn't do that shit, man. I'm like, listen, like, bro, your so-called, protege, or not protege, but your mentor, Randy Orton, was taken out over this ban maneuver, right? You want to come to the show with a purpose, right? You're furious, right? You got this mean look on your face. You mean business. You want Kevin Owens out there. I love that, right? There's times to where, to be, silly and to smile and put smiles on people's faces, right? And then there's times, bro, where you just need to be just locked in and just be fucking serious, right? I say that about Matt Riddle, right? When Matt Riddle was in that promo segment with Seth Rollins via satellite, right? Even with Montez Ford, bro. We're going to get to Montez Ford later on. So where it's cool to see him be that funny comedic shtick, right? What he does in the ring and putting in the solo cups, right? But when Montez Ford is serious, and he cut a promo, this was last week going into their big tag title match with Machine Guns. And dude, it was so good, bro. This dude was serious. He was amplified. When these talents are serious, right, and they're cutting and they're like fully amplified, dude, these guys and gals are at their freaking best. And Cody Rhodes, this was another prime example of it. This was a really good segment to start the show off. I think we could have done maybe a little bit more to end the segment, to maybe finish off the segment. But still, I love the seriousness of Cody Rhodes and the situation with Nick Aldis and trying to resolve this situation, this Kevin Owens problem right now, as this is another step to get Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens probably at Saturday night's main event. Randy Orton is going to be on the shelf probably past Survivor Series, if I want to say, and probably leading into that said matchup. Maybe Orton comes back, and maybe that's when we get the heel Randy Orton. Who knows how all this is going to really play out, but finally you got a serious Cody Rhodes. And for a guy that just has this weekly, right? I love Cody Rhodes. I really like the dude, but a guy that just comes out there and go like business as usual with his 5-piece suit and the smile on his face. And what do you want to talk about? It's like, come on, bro. Like, what are you doing? So yeah, man, that's pretty much all I got. Brian, what do you think about this start to the show with Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis?
I got a different take on it, man. I'm kind of shocked. Cody, I don't know, did it like a veteran or whatever. I'm sure he did it on purpose, but it just, I think he totally shit the bed with that promo because we've all seen, or look, it's the age of the internet, so wrestling fans across the world, right, have seen this video or whatever of KO and Randy Orton looking at KO's Lamborghini, right? Like they're out there like, oh, showing off my new car.
Mm-hmm.
And in this promo where he's supposed to be so angry and wants to get at Kevin Owens for doing this to Randy Orton, he intentionally mentions the Lamborghini, like knowing we've all seen the video,
right?
And from that point on, it just killed it for me. I was, what the fuck? Like, why would you? It baffled me because I think Cody Rhodes would know better. Like the video had just come out the day before, and you went out of your way to reference the Lamborghini in a story where you're in the moment trying to pretend you're so angry for what, and you reference a video where the two people you're talking about are
unless he's referencing when he got attacked after Bad Blood, because he did drive off in his Lamborghini car after the attack. He could also be mentioning that. I mean, maybe,
but I think after the video with Orton and Kate, like you can't mention that at all. Like that to me, that just killed the story. That just killed everything.
No, I hear you.
Shit. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, no,
so,
trust me.
It just kind of shocked me that it was like, why did you say that, Cody? But whatever. I mean, it is what it is, but I mean, he delivered, the promo, the whatever. I mean, really, to me, KO was the one, like his promo, that was fucking awesome.
Yes. Yeah. So Kevin Owens, yes, he did cut a promo. So this was, of course, via social media, saying that, you know what, I will show up to SmackDown next week, but guess what? Like, I'm just here doing my job, right? I was like, I don't understand why I'm getting faulted for somebody like me just for doing their job. So guess what, Cody? He's like, you'll get what you want. I'll come to SmackDown. So I'm not doing this for Cody. I'm not doing this for Nick Aldis. I'm not doing this for anybody, right? I'm just here because I'm here just to do my job, and that's pretty much it. So that was a very good promo, yes, from Kevin Owens. But yeah, again, so and I hear what you're saying too, Brian. Yeah, the whole Lamborghini mention, that was I guess the timing of it probably, because that video you mentioned,
because that, like, he's so angry, right? And I need it, and then he mentions that, and that again, millions of us have seen it. I know your immediate thought is to like go back and like, oh yeah, KO and Orton were standing there looking at the Lambo.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man?
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, again, my main takeaway was just finally I got a serious Cody Rhodes for once, and like act like you somewhat are pissed about what happened last week. Again, it could have definitely, like I said, towards the end, you could have maybe, ended the segment with more of a spark, right? Instead of kind of going the simplistic route where Cody Rhodes just like figure this out or it's on you and just, drops the microphone. So yeah, I mean, trust me, no doubt, but I just love, again, Cody Rhodes when he gets serious. I think that's, again, for majority of talents, that's the best version you'll see is when these characters are serious, right? Because if he would have just showed up in that 5-piece suit, right, like business as usual, like he's not ready for a fight, he's in his, not really like street attire, but he's in like his wrestling gear, his attire with his tank top and all. Like that's kind of like that visual is kind of like what I took away from it. Like he's ready for Kevin Owens. He's ready to just to beat this dude's ass. And yeah, the whole Lamborghini thing, it's very, very fair. And again, maybe that's just bad timing on Cody Rhodes' part to mention that. So yeah, it was, again, nothing perfect, nothing spectacular, but I just saw more good than outweighed the bad in this segment, if that makes sense. But we'll see how this again unfolds. I mean, who knows with Orton and his return? Who knows what happens next week with Kevin Owens when he does show up to SmackDown and how everything transpires. Do we still get a heel Randy Orton? I mean, you would think at some point we would, if it's going to happen, it's got to happen some point. So I'm sure we'll know about that moving forward. There was a triple threat match for the women for this new United States Women's Championship. You had Bayley, you had Candice LeRae, and you had B-Fab. My first reaction was, how and why is B-Fab getting an opportunity for a championship like this? Well, first, like, when was the last time this woman wrestled? What has she done to get an opportunity for this championship? It makes no sense. And the fact that she's still trying to get her feet wet with this whole wrestling thing, to where Bayley and Candice as the vets kind of have to kind of carry the load for her. I would have never put B-Fab in this spot. It was just a weird spot for her. And it just ends in a roll-up finish for Bayley. Candice doesn't take the pinfall, but B-Fab does with the roll-up finish, and Bayley wins. I mean, obviously, it just sucks for Candice LeRae, right? It's just like, we'll have you pin Bayley, right? But then in a couple weeks, when it's time for this new championship, right, to compete for this new championship, Bayley's going to have to advance in this matchup. So we'll give you this victory, but we're going to have to give the push to Bayley here. It's just the inconsistency. Brian is just so fucking just weird. And again, Bayley should have won this match. Don't get me wrong. Why then did you have Candice pin Bayley several weeks ago? Just what? Because Bayley requested it? Oh, yeah, because Bayley wanted to put over Candice. Okay, again, people in hell want ice water. That doesn't mean you give these people what they want. I'll be like, listen, Bayley, I'm sorry. I know you maybe want to put Candice LeRae over, but we haven't booked her properly to do that. You're beating Candice LeRae. We'll protect her in a certain degree, but she's not beating you. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. A good old-fashioned tournament. You guys know how I feel about tournaments, man. That's pretty. But Brian, do you have any takes about this triple threat match?
Not really. I mean, obviously Bayley was going to win, but even with Bayley, I feel Bayley, this is just the beginning, or kind of the continuation of her really just being lost in the shuffle. Because while she won this match, even this U.S. title, I don't think it's Bayley's to win. We talked about that last week. There's the women that haven't got titles yet, that, hey, it's a new title, it should be their opportunity. So, yeah, I mean, Bayley, and maybe she wins next week, but she's going to eventually lose and then just kind of be out there somewhere, Yeah. We talk about tournaments all the time and whatever, I would much rather see Bayley in some other separate feud. She doesn't need to be in this U.S. title tournament, at all. You know what I mean? So I would have preferred to see her in something else. And, I don't think she's winning the U.S. title.
Nah.
I don't even know if she really makes it to the finals. Maybe. But yeah, after that, I don't know where Bayley goes, because I don't think she's winning it. So
yeah, who knows? Who knows, man?
I mean, damn it, she just won the title at Mania, and
right.
And, fuck.
Yeah, that's what I mean, man, about this mid-card championship. I mean, guys, I know it's needed to a degree, right? It can put a spotlight on somebody, but if the booking's not there, man, if you haven't done anything with these women to gather up towards this championship, then what does it matter? What's really the difference here? That's what I mean about last week. What I said was, these ladies don't need a championship. They just need good booking, bro. If the booking's not there, if you're just throwing and just placing a championship on them with the same type of booking, how is it truly benefiting them? It doesn't make sense. So that's a whole different discussion again for another day, as this tournament will continue. the next week and the following week and the week after that.
I mean,
got
the
LA.
best thing, hopefully, maybe Naomi gets the title, and that's the best outcome I can hope for.
Exactly.
At this point,
Exactly. Who knows? And we'll get to Naomi later on, but yes, who knows in regards to that. But so up next we have LA Knight. Yeah, as LA Knight is issuing a open challenge as the Legado del Fantasma comes out. As they're in a face-to-face promo with LA Knight. LA Knight, this was him, and I quote, the only one that could call me daddy is your girl over here, pointing to Elektra Lopez. So while she calls me
fire last night, man. I mean, he cooked these people, dude.
LA Knight is straight fire, like I always say every week. This dude was great. And again, I'm not even done. This was also LA Knight. So while she's calling me daddy and you're screaming uncle, I'll have everybody saying LA Knight.
Yeah, he was cooking last night.
Man, LA Knight, and the dude's fantastic. Again, it's crazy, man, because this dude is what? I think he's now 40 some odd years old, right? It's just like you would think, man, that this dude should have had this type of spotlight 10 plus years ago. And he's trying to make the most of this segment, but man, and did he ever, man, with that freaking quote? He laid in on these dudes, man. LA Knight is just tremendous, man. He's trying to make the most of what he has been given, and he knocks it out of the park, man, every single time on that microphone. So just much love to the dude. So this does lead to an open challenge with Humberto. Humberto steps up to the plate, but to no avail. Of course, he ends up losing to LA Knight. But after the match, right after the match is where headlines are taken, and that is a returning Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke Nakamura attacks LA Knight from behind as LA Knight is celebrating his championship victory, attacks LA Knight from behind, and with new face paint. It's like a new face paint, a different type of look or whatever. So we got a heel Shinsuke Nakamura returning here in a potential feud with LA Knight, and that is your segment. Really good to see Shinsuke, man. Seriously, it's really good to see this dude, and it seems like that we're going to kickstart this feud with himself as well as with LA Knight. Again, I think a heel Shinsuke is kind of the best move and best output or best decision kind of going forward here. And the question is, does he take this title from LA Knight? Because I'll be honest with you, man, with as good as LA Knight is, I don't this. And again, it's not really its fault. It's just the mid-card division as a whole. It's just the title reign ever since he won it at SummerSlam, again, has not catapulted him to anything that's truly taking headlines, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So do they completely just go a different direction and give this title to Shinsuke? Or is Shinsuke just going to be another name that LA Knight just crosses off with the amount of title defenses that he has? Now, I think this feud could be truly badass if they book it properly, because, now you got a returning Shinsuke Nakamura, man. The last thing that you would want is for him to just continuing to take losses like he did in this same type of shtick, right? Because we said the same thing, like Cody Rhodes, right? When he feuded with Cody Rhodes on Monday Night Raw, it's like Shinsuke and Cody, it's going really well. It's had its moments, right? But then towards the end and how everything turned out, it's kind of forgettable to a degree. And the question is, is there truly a plan to make this badass, to truly make this work? It has all the potential in the world, but due to past experience with Shinsuke Nakamura's booking, how likely is that outcome going to be? So that's the question. But Brian, what are your takes, man? Shinsuke is back. What are your thoughts, man, in a potential feud with LA Knight?
Oh, I got a few thoughts about this whole segment. I mean, first of all, LA Knight knocked it out of the park. That was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Great to see Shinsuke back. Absolutely. It started off again with the open challenge thing, which is kind of tournament adjacent, which, is what it is. So Legado del Fantasma comes out there, and I hope with the return of Shinsuke, this isn't leading to a triple fucking threat. I hope it's just Shinsuke, I don't know. It just be done with Legado del Fantasma. They don't need to be involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
With all that being said, man, I mean, I don't know, what was it, a year ago, maybe a little more, a little less. I mean, dude, there was this fantastic wrestler that like he made a return. It was a pretty big return, new kind of look. Where's this gonna go? And his name was Shinsuke Nakamura. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, yeah, the return was badass. I like the look. I've said this over and over and over again, man. And until they do something different, like, no, I don't think he's beaten LA Knight because they're going to do the same thing. And he's going to be this Japanese character. And it's only going to go so far. And you're not, there. It's just that. Show me. Seriously, like we were
Yeah.
here, like I said, a year ago or whatever it was when Shinsuke made that return.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. I'm glad he's back, but I think it's going to be more of the same.
Yeah, and that's just kind of just the norm as of right now. Because
Yeah.
again, when it comes to Shinsuke's booking, that's just what we're gonna believe because that's
When he was
WWE.
was doing the vignettes, when he was speaking in his own language, and I
Right.
mean, shit was awesome, man.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's got all the potential in the world, man. It's just that I think just again with Triple H, it's just like he hits like a wall. It's just like I think he comes to a certain point to where like I don't know
Yeah.
what to do with this guy, so maybe I'm just gonna do the same thing and then do
Change his
repeat.
look. He's going to go away for a little bit, change his look, come back, and we'll do the same
Yeah, and
thing.
just do the same
Yeah.
exactly, right? So I think that that's just there's
Yeah.
certain people that I truly believe that Triple H just doesn't know what to truly do outside of, like you said, do the same exact thing every week, and I truly feel like Shinsuke is one of those people.
Like
Um,
if I'm being honest with you, we talk about like AEW, WWE. I think really Shinsuke would probably be better. He would be better utilized probably in AEW at this point, and what he could do
uh,
even going to New Japan or whatever than WWE's ever done with him.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just who knows, man. Again, I really want this to work, and not just for Shinsuke, but for LA Knight too, man. I want this
Yeah.
dude and this title reign to be somewhat memorable, and
Yep.
with
This could be a
Shinsuke
great
and
feud, man. Yep.
absolutely, yeah. And again, if it's done properly, it really could be good. But the question is there a plan to make this work and to make this captivating? That's really truly the question. Or is it just going to slowly fade away into irrelevancy and it's just not going to go anywhere?
Yeah.
That's the concern, and that's kind of just to where how badly this mid card division has been booked, and that's kind of just the narrative as of right now, to where you're going to have to just show us now. Like, don't just
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we can be hopeful, right? Oh, this could work, but like, what's making us truly feel like, oh yeah, like this is gonna work? Like trust, like let Triple H cook, right? Like what's making you believe that?
And
So
by just please again, because I'm not even fully convinced that Legado del Fantasma doesn't play a role, but please
mhm.
don't make this a fucking threat thing. Just
Yeah.
make it Shinsuke and LA Knight.
Unless they just make
God
like
damn.
Santos and then just like the stepping stone. It's because I mean, yeah, you've already done Santos and LA Knight
Yeah.
already. It's just yeah, there's no need to go back to that at all. I feel like it's gonna be Legado's gonna be like that stepping stone to get to probably to Shinsuke. I'm sure you'll see LA Knight maybe fight against Angel Garza and maybe
Yep.
against or again, I almost said LWO, Legado del Fantasma. Maybe LA Knight's tag teaming with somebody in a tag match, right? Going through that type of fucking
Yeah.
spiel, you know. So who knows, man? But how far are they gonna truly go with this, and how much can we believe at this point because of this booking of the mid card division?
And
How
Shinsuke
much
in particular.
and
Really.
Shinsuke in particular, yeah, and LA Knight too, to a degree, as good as he's
Yeah.
been, and on the microphone, right? I mean, let's also not kid ourselves that LA Knight has not been put in the best position possible either. I mean, he's
Right.
on the same brand as two of your top baby faces, which is Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns right now. I mean, let's be honest. So who knows, man? Again, I hopefully, again, much love to both of those two, and hopefully
Sure.
this company has a said plan to truly make and to this feud, right, to really be the focal point of what maybe creates a spark in the mid-card division. Who knows in regards to that. But let's get into a tag title match, man. This was the Street Profits against Motor City Machine Guns. So Tommaso Ciampa ends up coming out, attacks the Profits to cause a disqualification. Johnny Gargano, his tag partner with DIY, he ends up trying to play peacemaker, trying to calm Tommaso Ciampa down. And the dude just gets a shove for good measure. Ciampa just shoves him to the mat and just walks away up the rampway. Motor City Machine Guns are trying to apologize to the Profits, like, oh, we didn't know that was going to happen. Sorry that you got screwed over of your opportunity. And Angelo Dawkins decks one of the members of Motor City Machine Guns. And like even Montez Ford has like this serious pissed off look on his face as they both end up walking up the rampway and out of the ring, and leaving Motor City Machine Guns in the ring. So the Profits win by DQ. So I'm sure now you're getting a more heelish version of the Street Profits. Now you got DIY. Are you going to just throw all of these tag teams together in a triple threat situation? Maybe you can do this,
James.
So, right, and most likely, right? So now, I mean, obviously with DIY, right? So obviously they're teasing this split. They're clearly not on the same page. So do you do this matchup to where Johnny Gargano takes the pinfall, and then that's like the final straw to where like Tommaso Ciampa just whoops the shit out of this dude, right? Things like that. But the main takeaway again that I had about this segment, man, was the seriousness of the Street Profits, right? Like you can see what the Street Profits, their mannerisms feel like when they put the red Solo cups down, and all the joking and the dancing aside, and how good these two can be as a team, right? We talk about Montez Ford and we say all the things like, why isn't this dude getting a single push at this point? And all of it's very fair. And Montez, he stated that he just wants to be around a tag division, right? Wants to build a tag division to the best way imaginable, right? With Angelo Dawkins. And that's just what he wants to do. And if that's the case, then cool, much love to him, even though we see more of it in Montez Ford than what he's doing. But if you are going to put him in this tag division or keep him in this tag team, man, then like you got to give him more to offer. And this type of shtick with the Street Profits, to where like they're a lot more serious and maybe they mean more business, and it just maybe it could create a big spark for them. Now, the downside or the other side is that we've seen this type of situation before with the Profits when they were heels with Bobby Lashley. Yep. So what's truly going to be the difference in all of this? So that's another question that people, I'm sure, has to ask themselves as well. So yeah, man, and Tommaso, and the same goes for DIY, right? To where, oh, Tommaso Ciampa, he's going back to the old black and gold days, right? I mean, this is going to be great. Tommaso Ciampa is going to be built like the star like he was in NXT, maybe close to that. But again, guys, like, let's pump the brakes a little bit, because we said the same thing about DIY, right? Oh, we're going back to black and gold. It's DIY. They're going to be great. They're going to build this tag division. And you guys know how that fucking played out. It went absolutely nowhere. Maybe the turn or whatever they have for that said moment is going to be good for what it is. But then moving forward, man, like, what is the plan? Like, what is the plan that's going to truly elevate Tommaso Ciampa to where maybe not to where he was peak in NXT, right? Back in the way before COVID, way before 2020. But if you're going to split them up, man, like you have to just have a plan, man. Because, I talk about trying to go back to this whole black and gold spiel. Like, don't even do that, man. I don't give a shit about the black and gold era anymore. The black and gold era was good for a certain amount of time, and it was what it was, man. But now it's just like you're trying to rehash things that worked for a 1-hour show when you had people like a William Regal and you had people like a Dusty Rhodes, right? But now you're the head honcho now, Triple H. You're trying to run things, and guess what? All this black and gold shit that you've been trying to do hasn't fucking worked. So that's just the narrative that, once again, like we talked with Shinsuke, is the narrative that we're going to believe with Tommaso Ciampa, and even with the Street Profits to a degree. But I do like the fact that with the Street Profits, and even for Tommaso Ciampa, you can argue for both of them, that when you give them this type of persona and at least give them the opportunity, like let them run with it, bro. Like I've even said it for Montez Ford. He is a perfect guy that could be at the top of the mid-card division. Same goes with even somebody like Tommaso Ciampa as well.
Yeah.
So I'm down for it. I just want it to be done properly. And as of right now, Brian, I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all because history has not given me a reason to do that. So, but what are your thoughts, man, on the Street Profits, this tag match, and everything as a whole?
Yeah, man. I mean, my thoughts really, honestly, overall, there's 6 men in that ring, and there's one tag team. There's one tag team in that was in that ring, and that's the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Tommaso Ciampa and that amplification and that seriousness. Yes, that's when he's at his best. What they do with that, I hope to see more of that. But what they do with that, we'll see. But I mean, do we need DIY as a tag team? No. I'd rather see Ciampa in a somewhat shtick, maybe not exactly like Black and Gold, but something to that degree. And we've talked about it with the Street Profits as well too. Like, yeah, I mean, if WWE was really gonna maybe change their gimmick up a little bit, really get behind them, give them a push, and establish a long-term push. Maybe they could be the tag team. Them against the Motor City Machine Guns. Like that could be a really hell of a tag team feud over the next year, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think they're gonna do Street Profits again, like the New Day or like a DIY. Like they've been around for so long now, and you've constantly either done nothing or the start, the stop, the face, the heel, and that's all. That's all. You're just rotating that. So
Yeah.
for shit's sake, man, yeah, let Ciampa go be a singles wrestler again. Montez Ford, dude's been ready. Let's see where that goes. Because yeah, out of the 6 people in that ring, there's one legit tag team. Or not,
Yeah.
I want to say Street Profits are a legit tag team, but they've been there, done that, and I don't think WWE is going to push them any further than they already have. So
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And even in this heel shtick, to where in the moment, like I love even from Dawkins, right? The amplification from Dawkins when he decked one of Motor City Machine Guns, right? Like I love that, man. Like and like you said, like and I've even said it too, like they've just at this point they've overstated their welcome as a tag team, and again, they're not going to get pushed in what they've already done thus far as a tag team over the last 4 to 5 years. And with Tommaso Ciampa and DIY, it's just, and it sucks because, like, I mean, you can't book them properly as a tag team. So what makes me think that now that Ciampa's going to go off on his own and you're going to book him properly now, right? And again,
I'm just saying, even if you didn't book him properly, I'm just ready to like more of that NXT Ciampa.
No,
like I just rather see that.
No, dude, absolutely, bro. And I like I said, and I even said it from the beginning, bro. Like, why down? Well, I don't want to say downgrade, but like, why place Tommaso Ciampa in this position to where he's better? And same with Johnny Gargano too. I don't want to even leave him out of there as well. It's sometimes like you try to rehash something from Black and Gold that was once great, and it's just you try to rehash it on the main roster, and with one hiccup, it's not going to hit the same. It's just not. And when they started, ever since this DIY shit started or restarted, it hasn't even gotten off the ground. So you can say that this is the best for both people in this scenario, but again, man, I'm just gonna have to believe it to see it in regards to it. But so we'll see. But let's get to the bloodline, man. Let's get to the final topic of the show. So all the members of the OG bloodline, they get together backstage, and Roman Reigns arrives to his locker room. And Sami Zayn's like, all right, I'm just going to come out and say it. We couldn't find a 5th person. We went on Raw, it's SmackDown here. Like, we've got nothing. There's nobody that wants to join this team. Like, we can't find a 5th guy. And I thought this was kind of like a cool little transition. Solo's music hits, and there's like a television in the locker room. So the camera from the television points to Solo's entrance, and like Roman Reigns' head slowly like turns over, and like same goes with the Usos and with Sami Zayn. And Jey Uso was also mentioning like, hey, like Us, like you gotta make the call, man. I think it's time to like make the call, and he references that later on in the night as well. So Solo and his faction comes out. Jacob Fatu, Gorillas of Destiny, and all. Solo's out there, and then Roman Reigns, the OG Bloodline, come out. They brawl with one another, and Bronson Reed comes out. And it's pretty much now official that he is going to be the 5th member for the Solo's Bloodline for WarGames. As he lays out Roman Reigns, he lays out the rest of the OG Bloodline as the new Bloodline stands tall. They walk out the ring. And then once again, Jey Uso's telling Roman, you got to make the call. Make the call, Luce. You got to do it. As, again, the heels retreat up the rampway, standing tall as they walk off. I'm going to start with that, man. I mean, look, can I say the positive things first? Because I know what everybody's going to talk about, right? And that's with Bronson Reed. And like, oh, why is Bronson Reed a part of this freaking Bloodline matchup? It makes no sense. What are we doing, right? I will say this, man. Because I know people have also mentioned this as well. I'm not going to lie, man. The visual of Bronson Reed and Jacob Fatu next to one another, that's pretty.
If that's the future tag team, oh hell yeah,
dude! I was gonna say, like, dude, that is some fucking visual. So, like, that's a really good look for both of them, and for Bronson Reed, it's a good visual with those for all of those people by his side. So it's a good look for Bronson, and that's at least the one thing, Brian, that WWE has been doing really well over the last several weeks and months, and that's truly elevate Bronson Reed to where he was just several months ago to where he is now. So much love to Bronson. Again, just that visual with both Fatu and himself, Bronson Reed together.
Reed, a tag team, dude.
Bro.
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, you can't go Samoan SWAT team or head shrinkers or whatever, but that's what it is. You know?
For real. Like, you would be taken back. Like, you would think, like, just the look of it, like, you would just believe just from the look and the visual of it, like, oh yeah, he's part of that clique. Like, that makes sense.
Right. Yep.
But then again, man, we talk about the other side of it, man, like this Bloodline Civil War and this WarGames matchup. And clearly now it seems like because Bronson is now inserted into this,
you know who the
the 5th guy is going to be for the OG Bloodline, man. And that's going to be Seth Rollins. Look, man, I'm not going to say anything that hasn't already been said already and that we haven't said already about this WarGames matchup, man. It's just, merging Bronson and Seth into this soon, like this quick, just another week and a half left until Survivor Series makes no sense because Rollins just stated, he's like, never will I ever team up with Roman Reigns after what I did at WrestleMania, sacrificing my career and my life, taking that steel chair to the back, dressed up in that Shield attire and everything that Roman Reigns has done for the past 4 years. And now all of a sudden, in the snap of a finger, we're just going to forget all of it and we're just going to be a team. Man. So that's the disappointing factor, man. But again, the brawl segment, again, I never like brawl segments just for the brawl. But the hidden layer with, again, the whole make the call, Roman, you got to make the call, I thought was a nice touch that at least made the brawl segment add a little bit more intrigue of what was going to happen later on. And we'll get to that, the final closing segment. So on that aspect for the brawl, it wasn't just like a brawl segment just to have a brawl. At least there were headlines taken, even if it was with Bronson Reed, that yes, makes no sense at all, and it's not needed. But also with Jey Uso and Roman's interaction as they're, licking their wounds after what happened with getting their ass whooped by Solo and his bloodline. I thought was a nice little touch there. I thought that was a nice little added layer. So let me get to this final segment here. So we get to the closing segment of the show. And I know I forgot about the women's title match. We'll get to that after that. But the closing ending of this show, man, is Roman Reigns. He's in his locker room and he picks up the phone and he says, call the wise man. And bro, you hear the fucking pop in that arena was crazy when Roman Reigns said that. But then the phone kind of dial said the number you have reached is not in service. And Roman Reigns has this like shook look on his face. And his mannerisms was great. He just drops the phone and like in distraught and like worrisome, like what's going on with Paul Heyman? Why is his phone disconnected? What's going on? And we cut off and we go and the show ends and we go off the air. I mean, bro, Brian, what do I scream about on this podcast all the time, dude? Like the cliffhangers, bro. That's all I fucking ask for, dude. Give me a cliffhanger, dude. Give me a reason to watch next week, dude. Like rarely, Brian, do you see in these shows, and this was so well done to where just a little cliffhanger that lasts 60 to 90 seconds and you're hooked. You're hooked. You want to know, like, oh, what's going on with Paul Heyman? Is he portraying Roman? Did he just completely just cut off Roman? He wants nothing to do with this bloodline situation. Is he going to team with Solo's bloodline and possibly The Rock? There's so many good questions that makes you want to tune in next week. And that's all I fucking ask for, bro. We talked about Monday Night Raw and how you have all of the ladies just go out there and just nonsensically brawl because you need names for a WarGames match. No, bro, all you need is shit like this. To where, again, when it comes to pro wrestling, we're not here because of the wrestling sequences. That's the fucking icing on the cake. That's the cherry on top. But the ice cream, the dish itself, is the stories, the cliffhangers, the climax, everything. And that was such a good way to end the show, man. Finally, I get a fucking cliffhanger. Finally! And it was so fucking good, man. So good. Again, there's other baffling shit with Bronson and everything. I get it. I understand it. But that layer with Paul Heyman and what you can do with that and all the questions that surround that, so well done, man. Really liked it a lot. Brian, what are your takes, man? We'll get to Naomi and Nia Jax, but what are your takes about that?
Yeah, I mean, again, we mentioned it last podcast. I mean, they've done a really good job elevating Bronson Reed. So, and you're right. I mean, yes, he fits with that group. And further down the line, man, if they ever pair Fatu and Bronson Reed together, oh, man. please do that in the future. Please. So, yeah, I mean, Seth and Bronson added to this. Okay, it is what it is. Hot take. Roman's about to win WarGames, and Heyman comes out, and he's either with Brock Lesnar or The Rock. One of the two.
That's Brock Lesnar. Okay, interesting. That would be the Rock. Now
I don't know the legal things and if they're coming.
I'm leaning more
coming back, but
right. I'm leaning more toward now. That's both are very possible, by the way. I'm leaning more towards The Rock because again, like because you gotta start planting those seeds now with Rock and Roman eventually for Mania,
right?
Because if you remember, right, there was one segment, Brian, to where Paul Heyman had two cell phones. He had one for Roman Reigns and he had one for The Rock. I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? So that
he's with The Rock. Yep.
You would think now, like, you know, he's completely flatlined Roman Reigns' connection, and now he's more in the ear of The Rock, who we all have said it since well over a year now, well for months now, that The Rock is the one, you know, in control of this ship and is kind of running everything here. So that would kind of make sense for it to be The Rock. But again, man, it could lead you.
But then also, like, there's part of me, like, I don't know. Maybe it's almost like the you know, you always go back to the abuser, right? Because we all know Paul Heyman's he's a slime bag, right?
Yeah.
But there's something in me that wants to believe, like, nah, you're not going to turn on Roman though. Like you're not gonna do that to Roman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I want to believe that, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, again, there was also like right before, or this was well before Paul Heyman was signed off of TV. If you remember when Tama Tonga arrived to the scene when Jimmy Uso was taken out of commission, like he takes Paul Heyman's phone and he stomps it. So I don't know. I mean, you would think with Paul Heyman and the money I'm sure he's got, he can buy a new fucking phone. But I don't know. But the good news about it, the reason why I mention is that there's so many avenues that you can go towards to make this make sense. So if I'm booking this, it's The Rock. That's alongside Heyman. Not that again, Heyman and Rock is needed, honestly, because The Rock doesn't need Heyman. And again, maybe it's just for more of the new Bloodline faction than anything. So yeah, man, it's interesting, man. I really like that. At the end of the day, man, it leads to so many good questions. And for all over the place, this Bloodline storyline has been at times. This was one of those moments to where I've already went back and watched this 5 times because of how good Roman executed this whole scene. And just, again, the questions, man, that makes you think and wonder, man. That's pro wrestling, guys, and that's storytelling. If you're not at that point to where, like, you constantly are thinking, man, I got to know what happens, man. I'm thinking of all these situations of what could possibly go down over the next several weeks. That's when you know, like, it's working. Pro wrestling is captivating you. It's working. It's gaining your interest. If you're doing this, guys, just for the wrestling and the maneuvers, like, that's not what we fell in love with, man, about pro wrestling. It's not. It's part of it, right? It's part of what makes a tremendous dish, right? Or a tremendous presentation, but it's not the presentation. It's not the end all be all. Right? It's little things like this, these cliffhangers to where, like, oh shit, Paul Heyman, he's betraying Roman. He's not calling his phone. His phone is like, I got to see what happens next week. Is Paul Heyman coming to, like, it just makes you think, man, you know, who knows? I mean, they could have Paul Heyman return at Survivor Series. You would think that The Rock is going to return at Survivor Series, maybe shortly after. Or maybe it's flip-flop. It's vice versa. Paul Heyman returns at Survivor Series and then The Rock shortly after when they're on Netflix. So who knows? So yeah, man, it's going to be, it's to that degree, that added layer is going to be very, very interesting. And yeah, with Bronson and Seth, I wish that whole part of it was executed a lot better to where you didn't have to just,
or not executed at all.
Again, man, listen, you know, this is why I give WWE a hard time about things. Cause like you would think like you would plan this out like months and months in advance. Like, hey, we're going to just do maybe 4-on-4, or if we're going to do 5-on-5, we got to really strategically figure out who this 5th person is going to be. That doesn't have to be somebody outside of the bloodline. Again, outside of Sami Zayn, right? Again, I've mentioned that he is a part of that, part of the faction to where it was at its peak. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. He was part of that. So he's an exception, but everybody else, man, it's not needed. Not Cody Rhodes, not Seth Rollins, not Bronson Reed, not anybody else, man. That's just,
I think actually, like, who comes out the worst in all of this is Seth Rollins. Like,
yes,
because like you said, like, this is like a 2 to 3 week thing where, like, he's made it clear, like, I'm not fighting with you. I'm not fighting with you. Fuck all of you guys. I don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And now, and there's real history with Roman, right? Real shit that went down back in the day. And so now, just because Bronson Reed decides to join Solo, now that's enough to sway you to be like, okay, I gotta have Roman's back.
Right?
What?
Yeah.
What?
It's so weird, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
that's.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, yeah. Like
that's the only, because originally I was thinking, and I know that's why I said Brock Lesnar, because I was like, is there a way you can do this without having Seth Rollins? But Seth Rollins is going to be at WarGames, and this is the only, like, his opponent is Bronson Reed. Like, so there's no other segment. If he's not in this match, then Seth Rollins is off the card, and he's not going to be off the card, you know?
Yeah. Who knows, man? But again, outside of that, I thought again the ending segment
Yeah.
with Roman was done very well, man. At least that kind of made up for everything else that's still a big question mark out of why, again, Rollins, because again, you're right. Like Rollins out of everybody in this situation pretty much look more like the schmuck because now you're gonna place him in this situation after again he said never will I ever team with Roman Reigns. It's not happening. And all of the history over the last several years. And now you're within less than a week or so, you're going to rush that and say, all right, let's all team together. Bygones are bygones.
Because I got to get at Bronson Reed.
Right. What? No, it's just no. Anyway, let's get to this main event, man. The actual main event itself, which was Naomi versus Nia Jax. Of course, Nia Jax wins this match and retains her championship after interference with Tiffany Stratton and all bunch of chaos that ensued. Liv Morgan and Raquel, they attacked Jade and Bianca backstage. It was like a clips backstage. Didn't really influence anything from the match. The match itself, by the way, I thought was really good. This was one of Nia Jax's best matches that I've seen. Really did well. Again, Naomi is just fantastic, man. She is just so, listen, I get it. She's not the best talker, but let's be honest, guys, there's not a whole lot of females that are great on the microphone. Even men too, on the men's roster. They're really not that good.
I mean, there's very few that are really can just go out there and just nail everything. Yeah, there's very few.
Exactly right. So like if, for Naomi, but the fact that she checks off so many other boxes in her game, it's just like, it kind of overshadows that to a degree. I say the same thing about Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks. Like she does everything so fucking good. And that part to where, it's not her strength, but it's overshadowed by everything else. And that's the same case with Naomi here. Naomi didn't pick up the victory, but man, she didn't lose a fucking thing from this match at all. And hopefully, again, I mentioned this weeks ago, man, this just catapults her to something in the long run. Maybe this is it. Maybe it's the U.S. Women's Championship, and then maybe a certain feud with somebody. Like, give this woman something, bro. She's been in this spiel now for 15 some odd years. She's paid her dues. She went out there and she legit gave everything within this matchup to make this main event really solid. And again, props to Nia Jax too. She did her thing as well. Just a really good main event, man, overall. And Nia Jax retains. And yeah, man, so we'll see where that goes. And who knows with, again, Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax and her situation. You got Candice LeRae now. That's now a part of this spiel now. So we'll see, man. But Brian, what are your takes, man, between Nia Jax and Naomi in this main event?
Yeah, a few different takes on this, man. For again, like the Candice LeRae thing, like I don't know, man. I don't know why all of a sudden she's involved in all this.
Bro, you know what it is, bro? Because like now that Indy Hartwell's no longer part of the company now, it's like, oh, let's put Candice LeRae in something. Oh, let's just throw her and just pluck her from that tag team and just throw her. That I really truly believe, Brian, that's what it is. It's just throwing her because there's nothing else for Candice LeRae, honestly. So yeah.
Yeah. And then my second kind of question that I think might be happening is like, because you saw when, Naomi and Bayley are backstage and then Jade and Bianca come up. And I don't know. It seems like there's like a little tension over like, oh, we got her back. No, I got her back, right?
Yeah, that's
so. Then you see Jade and Naomi get taken out. And of course, Bayley's out at ringside and she gets shoved into the ring post. And so I'm wondering if this is going to lead to like, they're going to blame Bayley, and then Bayley essentially is going to be turning heel shortly here, which if that's the case, God damn it. But Naomi, back to the main event. Yeah, that was a very solid match. And I got to go back because I can't remember what exactly it was, but there was a sequence in the match where it was either just a really, really good sequence by Naomi, or it was actually like a botch or a near botch where Naomi like recovered really well and just, they kept going.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so like Naomi is there. Like again, we talk about earning, deserving, whatever. a title, whether it's the world title or the U.S. title, needs to be on this woman. Like, you know, she's there. Like, there's nothing more this woman can do to prove to you that she's earned a top spot in this company. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, shout out to both women. I don't think Naomi is winning the world title just yet, but
No.
maybe that U.S. title is hers, man. I hope so.
Hopefully. Yeah. We'll see, man. I believe she's in all of these qualifying matches, I believe, are like triple threat matches. I think she's with
Yeah,
Elektra Lopez. This is off the top of my head. Elektra Lopez, and I think Tiffany Stratton is a part of that matchup too. And again, I don't know when that matchup's going to be, but there's collectively all these triple threat matches in this said tournament.
yeah,
And people will be advancing and all that. So who knows, man? So yeah, man. I mean, listen, overall, man, to close this out, I rarely talk about shows being, dare I say, good or very complete. This was one of these shows.
yeah.
Like, I'm going that
was pretty
far.
solid.
I mean, this was solid. Now, I truly hope that because, again, this boxing match that happened last night, hopefully that SmackDown, this show, was able to do enough to gain people's attention and to get at least a solid rating. Probably, I think they did good enough to at least grab like a 1.3 or a 1.4. But man, from what I saw top to bottom, everything felt important. It was a good flowing show, and everything, it's like you couldn't miss it because everything mattered. Like, there was no filler hardly in this show at all, very little filler in this show. And I praise Triple H for this reason and this reason only, right? And I know I give him a hard time, and justifiably so, but what I will give him praise is that, and I said it right at the top of the show, to where you are facing a juggernaut with Netflix and this boxing matchup, right? You know that. But the only thing that you can do is to put your best foot forward. Don't just crawl up into a ball and wave the white flag and just put a bunch of filler and whatever, right? You go out there and you put the best possible show imaginable. And as a fair critic as I am, this was damn near a solid, good, and a very complete show last night from start to finish. From Cody Rhodes and his serious promo, Shinsuke Nakamura and his return, potentially KO's promo. Yeah, absolutely. This women's main event, the Bloodline, Roman Reigns' cliffhanger, like everything felt important and it mattered, and it leads into questions, right? What's going to happen? And it makes you want to maybe the rating won't show this week, but hopefully for next week, it'll show that, to where maybe people need to see what happens next week. And maybe you could see finally SmackDown crack over that 1.5 mark, because last week they got to 1.5. So possibly because of this boxing fight, you'll probably maybe see SmackDown at a 1.3, 1.4. But then the following week, you'd hope to see maybe that revamp another couple 100,000. So who knows, man? But I really do appreciate Triple H and this company for putting their best foot forward and not crawling into a ball, and that's where, there's competition, right? I don't want to use, boxing events, sporting events as an excuse, right? There's no excuse why you can't put your best foot forward. And last night was a great example, to where everything mattered, everything felt important, and it makes you want to watch next week. And hopefully that shows in the ratings. It shows for next week. So, hey, Triple H, dude, I don't do this a whole lot, but I'm going to give you credit. This was a good show. One of your best shows. Not great. There was still a whole lot of issues that we talked about. But for the most part, man, this was a good, flowing, complete show. And that's as fair and as honest I can be. So that's going to do it, y'all, for this episode. Nearly 2 hours for AEW, this boxing fight and SmackDown and everything. A lot of good discussion here. But thank you guys, as always, for tuning into this episode, into these podcasts. And of course, check us out on Instagram and TikTok. That is Ruthless_Talk. If you are watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are now officially at 250 subscribers. So make sure you guys spread the word, hit that subscribe button, share it with your family, your friends, your loved ones. Check out our roundtable event next week. And as always, stay tuned for more content to come. Brian, final thoughts, man, before we end the show.
Yeah, just shout out to everybody joining us next week, man. Looking forward to it. Yeah, can't wait to talk WarGames with y'all. So check it out next week.
Yes, sir. That is going to do it for today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
Until next time, there will be a next time. Your boys are signing off saying salute.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody. Top guys out.
With the skin is bright and pale, that we will never fail, and so